welcome to another episode of The Recruitment Doctor with me, your host, Dan Rodriguez. I wanted to follow on from our employer branding videos and the reason candidates leave over the last couple of weeks with reasons candidates aren't engaged during your interview process and why potentially when you get to offer they're not going to be interested in accepting. So I'm going to run through a list of reasons told candidates are disengaged and are not interested in your interview process. So let's crack on with what to expect during the interview process. A lot of clients will not want to give too much away, and what we're saying is not to tell what the questions you're going to ask, but just necessarily what to expect. So is interview one a telephone interview? If it is it a meet and greet? Is it informal? What does that process sort of roughly look like? And this is to really give clear parameters during that process as to what the interview hiring process is going to look like from start to finish. Secondly, by the way, these aren't in any specific order, lack of clarity of the role and what the responsibilities are. There's no need to be wishy-washy. Be as succinct as possible. I mean, you've written a job description, I would have hoped beforehand, but what is this role going to look like? What is their day-to-day activities going to look like? Get them really excited, get them understanding what their 9 to 5 and what their Monday to Friday is going to look like. Next, how many stages are there? Don't be dropping surprise. Oh, we just want you to meet our chairman. Oh, we want you to meet Carl, who is our CEO over in San Francisco. Clarity. Keep the process clear and make sure, again, they know what that's going to look like. How many stages are in your interview process? If there are 7, then I think we need to question why you've got 7. But secondly, how long are these interviews going to be? Think about it. If someone takes an hour and a half extended lunch to come to meet you face to face, don't keep them there for 2 to 3 hours. This is not good. They don't want to have that. You need to have clarity. If you're going to have an 8-stage interview process, then first of all, why? But also, if you are and have to, then just make sure you explicitly say what is going to happen during each of those 8 stages. Just be clear and keep comms really relevant. That takes me on to my next point. Be clear through those communications. Candidates will be less engaged during your interview process. If you speak to them on Monday after an interview and you don't get back to them until next Monday, keep them updated. Even if you have got an interview booked in Friday, keep them updated during every step, just so you're brought in. Even if you're really interested in them, I mean, they just want to know what's going on. Just keep them updated. I'm going to talk to you about technical assessments. In this candidate-driven market, I'm a massive doubter of businesses that make a candidate do a technical interview or a technical assessment or test, whatever that looks like, before they even speak to you. How can a candidate be brought in by your process if you don't get them excited about it? Why are they going to want to do a technical test? Especially if they're a developer. They're going to be asked to be doing technical tests left, right and centre. So why are they going to do yours before they've even spoken to you? Right? Think about it. Get them bought in early doors. However you want to do that. Get them excited. And then even then, you know you're not wasting their time or your time. But ultimately, you need to get a gauge to that person. So before you do a technical test, speak to them and get them excited. This also then takes me on to booking an interview tentatively based on their test results. I mean, not only is that going to lose some brownie points in terms of your brand reputation, but if they're speaking to other devs, they're going to be like, don't bother with that, because they're going to book in an interview with you and then cancel it if they're not happy with the results. Come on now, let's just be real. How are you making them feel before they're even in the door is such a big point. So you need to get them excited and get them interested in your organisation and get them bought in. So don't be cancelling interviews the day before or the same day just based on their test results. I don't think they should be even doing a test before they've even spoken to you. So get them excited, get them bought in. This will affect your brand. This takes me on to not giving away anything at interview. I get this a lot, when candidates come out of interview and they go, oh, you didn't give much away. You didn't really do much with the facial expressions. Smiles go a long way. These people would have spent a lot of time prepping research for this interview. Give them something, get them excited, get them feeling really upbeat about it, because that's only going to give them good feelings about the potential of joining your organisation. And then again, using inexperienced interviewers for vital parts of your interview process. Why do we train people to do a job and then yet we don't train people how to interview? So if you're going to bring someone that's maybe not interviewed before, do check in with them to see what that interview is going to look like, and make sure that they are comfortable doing the interview, because that is going to leave potentially a bad taste in that candidate's mouth if they're not if they're feeling really uncomfortable about the interview questions that they're being asked. So do a plan if you're going to use an inexperienced interviewer. I'm not saying don't use them, I'm just saying have a plan, get a set skeleton of questions, and then I suppose that takes me onto asking daft questions. If you're going to get people brought in at interview, please don't ask ridiculous questions. And what I mean by that is a technical question that's so far out there. We live in a world where most technical people, if they don't know the answer to something, not even just technical, non-technical, if we don't know the answer to something, we go and Google it. So don't be asking ridiculous questions like, do you prefer hot or cold environments? Or do you leave your tomato ketchup in the cupboard, or do you put it in the fridge? What are you trying to achieve from this? Think about it. People just want the black and white. They just want the straight and narrow. Just keep things simple and sell that brand as much as you can. And don't ask ridiculous questions. Being late for an interview. So first impressions count, right? So if a candidate is going to leave a first impression with you, think about how you are going to be leaving your first impressions with them. If your interview's booked for 10 a.m, make sure you pick them up at 5 minutes to or 2 minutes to. Don't pick them up at 10. They want to be in there. You want to start the interview at 10. Be organised. Think about what this does. And then, where are you taking them? Have you booked an interview room? Have you got a meeting room all booked? If not, and it's going to be in a cafe, is there going to be noise? Do they know this in advance? These are all about logistics, and these are things that should be ironed out way before the interview even starts. This takes me on to selling your brand, selling your product, and selling your organisation. We're in a candidate-driven market. You've got to do that more than ever. How are they excited? What are their drivers? These are things that you should have a rough idea about when, especially if you're using a recruitment company, you should have these notes in advance so they know exactly what their motivators are, what their reasons are for leaving their current company. Of course, drill into it at interview, but you should be knowing these things in advance so you can sell against it. You can market yourself. So when they're leaving that interview, they know exactly what they're getting into and why this opportunity is of interest to them. They should be leaving that interview absolutely excited, wanting to join. And then the next stage of the interview process should be the same. It should just spiral and snowball. And finally, the technical test. I know that there's a debate about the technical test. I think it's important. But for me, personality, soft skills, team fit comes first. So if you know that, get the technical task done later, because if they're bought into all of the things I've already discussed, you're not going to lose them at interview. And when it comes to offer, you're going to have more chance of hiring that person. So to conclude, train your team on how to interview. It shouldn't be a dictatorship. And remember, interviews these days in the modern era are discussion based. So whilst I'm a believer that the candidate should be talking for most of the time of the interview, 70 to 80% of the time, I'm also keen that it's a two-way street and you should be marketing your brand as much as possible. The fight for talent is real, and if you think it isn't, you're naive. You need to be marketing everything to the point where they should be feeling what it's like to work with you just through that interview experience, and also what it would be like to work in that business through the interviewers that they've met previously. So get it right during the interview process. I'm sure I've missed a couple of reasons as to why a candidate is disengaged, so I'd like to get your thoughts. But also, if you disagree, I'd also like to get your thoughts. So hit that like, add a comment, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I'm out of here. I'll speak to you soon.